everybody. Welcome to the December 14th meeting of the Granville Exempted School District Board of Education. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Take the roll, please, Mike.
Dr. Corman.
Here.
Ms. Deeds.
Here.
Mr. Jennings.
Here.
Mr. Miller.
Here. Okay.
Oh, a commendation. Sorry.
Just wanted to wait for permission. So this is kind of a full house. We usually don't have this many people at our board meetings. I know that's shocking, but many of you have been here in the past. So tonight we get to recognize our Granville girls soccer team for reaching the Division II OHSAA state finals versus Akron-Hoban at Mat-Free Stadium. That's going to take me a while to get that because it used to be Crew Stadium. The team led the game until the last 47 seconds, but I think the most important point of that whole scenario was the class that our girls displayed. They fought hard. It was an amazing game. The entire community rallied around that team. And one of my favorite pictures, and I took a lot, was as you were leaving Granville, you took a little detour down Granger Street, and the entire elementary lined Granger Street and was waving at you. So you not only served as role models for those young kids looking up and saying, oh my gosh, look, these girls are going to the state finals, but you also handled yourself with class when you were out on the field after a disappointing loss. You don't forget those, but you will have perspective as you get older, and you'll look back and realize the legacy that you left. Because you'll walk back into Granville High School and look at that trophy case and realize that for the last 4 years, you have been absolutely amazing. So the seniors that are leaving have left a legacy for the younger players, and those younger players will now carry on that legacy. So on behalf of the Board of Education, several of them who were there at the game cheering you on, and our pep band came to support you as well. I think it is fitting to honor your entire team for your accomplishment, and the coaching staff, Rick and Scott, I saw you guys around. Absolutely tremendous job. Thank you very much for representing Granville so well, and congratulations on a fantastic season. So I know there's a lot of you. I'm going to read off your names. Nikki Cox, Tori Long, Taylor Beitzel, Elliot Taganides, Journey Link, Riley Wells, Brooke Kawchuk, Emily Kawchuk, Jenna Wagner, Sophia Ellers, Sienna Winston, Blythe Saxinger, Rose Sawyer, Natalie Peru, Grace Dennison, Madeline Smith, Hannah Musick, Sarah Gravitt, Cassidy Rader, Katie Cox, Alyssa Christian, Hannah Graff, Lauren Newkirk. Did I miss anybody? Which one? Any? Which one? Okay, all right. And coached by Scott Forrester and Rick Seymour. So you are getting tonight a pin that says Granville Schools Excellence Award. So come on up, and we're going to take a lot of pictures for your parents. So let's find a spot right here in the middle where you can all take your pictures. Congratulations. There should be no problems.
Hi, how are you? I'm good. Sorry, I'm late.
All right. Now, we may have to have a double-decker picture here, so.
Fitting from last night, there was no parking space.
You were speculating on that. You have your coaches in there?
Yeah, Coach.
Yeah, come on up, Scott.
Come on up here. That's what it's like being with paparazzi. Are we all done? Congratulations again. Next, we have the GHS girls cross-country team and senior runner Joe Pappas from the boys team who represented the Blue Aces at the state meet in November. Congratulations to the girls cross-country team for placing 7th in their first year in Division I. Now, that's a long story, and I'm not going to tell the whole story, but in August, we were notified by OHSAA that our Division II state champion, returning champions, were going to have to compete in Division I this year. So that puts Granville schools in the same category as Mason, Olentangy, some of these schools that I know how big they are because I was there at one time. They're huge. And so it was kind of a shock and a challenge and something that I think our entire coaching staff and students handled so well. We just said, you know what, we're going to change our practice routine. We're going to do some things different. We participated in a couple of different invitationals. So I really credit them because that's kind of what life is like. You know, you think you got a plan for what's going to happen, and then you get a curveball. So that's just the way things go, and you guys did a fantastic job. You made the argument difficult for me to say that you really should be in Division II when you placed 7th. In the state meet. And Joe, our single runner from the boys team, finished 28th, just a few seconds away from all Ohio honors. And Joe has also competed in the Foot Locker Midwest Regional Championships on November 28th. So we'd like to congratulate these runners. I think they might have the most pins ever, because I know several of you have been here maybe 8 times or 9 times between all of the seasons that we have. So congratulations to our state runners. You always represent Granville so well, and you're successful not only in the athletic arena but also in the classroom. So we really respect that. So we have the coaches here, Mr. Patton, Mrs. Rogerson, Mr. Green. Come on up, girls. Mr. And Brown. What? Oh, and Mr. Brown. No. Well, you know, sorry. It was my own name, you know, I just right over. Sorry about that. Come on up, Joe, come on up. Since he's working. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I'm gonna get behind Riley.
Never is. Okay, now before you leave though, I have to share a story. Because I love going down to national trails and watching you guys run. But I couldn't tell who it was. But down the back stretch, you know, running into the final stretch, last 200 yards, there was a runner of ours that got sick. And literally ran right through it. I mean, she was going to finish strong no matter what. And I was like, that is a little disgusting, but very cool. You know, I mean, it was impressive. So no matter what, you had the killer instinct. You were ready to finish strong. So congratulations, whoever that was. I won't name it. All right. So if there's a more difficult job in this district than being my assistant superintendent, because there's something in his contract that says other duties as assigned by the superintendent, it's Mr. Jarrett's position, athletic director. All of the stuff that you participate in is coordinated and accomplished because of the long hours and dedication of our athletic director. It's not an easy job, and it's probably the most publicly scrutinized position. I want our AP teachers to be scrutinized as much, but sometimes athletics gets the best of people. And so last month, our athletic director, Kevin Jarrett, was honored by the Ohio Interscholastic Athletic Administrators Association as Athletic Director of the Year for Central Ohio. And he didn't tell anyone. I'm not kidding you. He didn't tell anyone. That's kind of how Kevin is. He kind of likes to fly under the radar, do a great job, and doesn't really like to be thanked. And I think that says something about him. Obviously, we found out, and this gives us a chance to embarrass him. And honestly, I think what's really nice is, for the first time, I've seen him, all the families together. So Marcy, Kelsey, Caleb, and Kevin, I'd like you all to come up and be recognized for Kevin's accomplishments. Newark, and so I'm going to give him a grand old thing. There you go. And so I know how hard it is on the spouse of an athletic director, so congratulations. It's a family event, I know that. So let's take some pictures. Congratulations. Finally, I'd like to introduce our board president, Dr. Kornman, to come up and say a few words about our board member, Dr. Katie Reynolds.
Oh.
Who, this is her last meeting. She has a very big smile on her face. So
I knew I shouldn't have come tonight.
Yes, I know. To recognize her years of service.
Katie, on behalf of the Board of Education, I want to really thank you for serving on the board with all of us. And thank you also for your commitment to improving the educational experiences for all children in Granville schools. You've also had great commitment to representing the interests of the community. So it's very much appreciated. We also have benefited from and appreciated your insights and experiences as both an educator and as an academic in the field of education. It has truly been a pleasure working with you over the past 4 years. And if you ever miss any of this, there are 5 superintendent committees on which you can also serve. Thank you very much. It's been a real pleasure, and we'll miss having you on our team.
Okay. So we kind of have a tradition when we have retiring teachers that we give them this glass-blown blue ace from the works, because each one's unique, and every teacher's unique, and every board member's unique. People ask me sometimes, what's it like to work for 5 different people as your boss? And I say, I have the best board in the state of Ohio. All of them are dedicated to the students of Granville, and none of this is possible without your leadership. And Katie, I know personally I've benefited from your expertise. You've challenged me, you've challenged the organization to improve, and I think one of the hallmarks of a great organization is that you have solid leadership governing everything that's taking place, and you have provided that leadership over the past several years. So thank you. I know I'm going to miss you, and there you go. There's your blue vase.
Thank you. Yeah.
There you go.
Hold my face.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, that sounds forever. There we go. Thanks.
Thank you. Usually we say this would be the time to leave. However, I'm going to hold you here for a moment because we do have some student presentations that I think that you should all see. So I promise after the student presentations, I will give you an opportunity to exit. Now, if you have something absolutely mission critical, meaning academic, I will let you leave. But if not, you're staying. So that concludes our accommodations, and we're going to get to student reports. So Simon, you're up.
Sure you want them to stay?
Yes.
In addition, I do have a sports recap. I'm not going to cover everything. He's already covered, so we'll keep it as long as we have to. The month of December is the transition month from the season of fall sports to winter sports. Not only has GHS students been extremely busy with the plethora of sports being played, but they've also been extremely successful. Like he said, GHS girls cross country came in 7th. The Lady Aces soccer team came in 2nd for their 2nd year in a row. This is their 3rd year they've made it to the semifinals. Our field hockey team won their first postseason game and qualified for their tournaments. The volleyball, golf, and girls tennis team have also finished their seasons. Winter sports are underway here at Granville. We've already hosted a wrestling meet, and the boys basketball team won their first game against Heath, 53-51. In addition, boys and girls swimming and diving, bowling, and indoor track have started their seasons. Now, a little piece Mr. Durst wanted me to put in there is that 85% of GHS students participate in an extracurricular activity, whether that be a sport or one of the multiple clubs Granville has welcomed. Extracurricular activities are considered a protection factor, meaning studies have indicated that when students are active in these extracurriculars, it reduces the percentage of students participating in illicit activities such as substance abuse. Thank you.
So while our next student presenters are getting ready, I'm going to actually highlight something. Simon, you neglected to talk about the holiday concert, which you had a major role in. You sang it's a White Christmas. White Christmas, and he had a solo. Do you want to give us a little piece of that right now? A cappella? Feel free. Yeah. This is called Adlibbing.
Oh, is this going on the record too? Oh my God. Do you want to give me the background?
No, I can't.
I'm dreaming of a white Christmas, just like the ones I used to know, where the treetops glisten and children listen to hear sleigh bells in the snow, the snow.
All right, that was good. I'm very intentional because I said life throws you curveballs, right? That was a
Was I
curveball.
prepared enough for that one?
Yeah, and you hit it out of the park.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, thank you, Simon.
I have Mrs.
Yes,
Snyder's
you can go.
Oh my God.
That is mission critical. All right, our next group.
If you would, maybe you might want to sit over there just so you're not in the way or something.
Where's he going?
That's good. Becky? Becky?
Hi, we're the Milestone Wizards in FLO.
FLL is an extracurricular STEM activity for kids ages 9 through 14. So there's three main parts. There's the core values, which is all about teamwork and working together as a team, which is really important in anything you want to do, like a soccer team or a cross-country team or administration. And then the center part, which is a lot of fun, is the robot. So we get to build as a team and program a robot that has to do missions on a Lego board, which is a lot of fun. And then the third part is research. And every year, FLL chooses a topic. It's a real-world problem. And all of these parts are encompassed in that topic. So this year, they chose trash track. And there's obviously a lot of problems with trash in our current world. So each team has to identify a problem and find a solution. So we chose paper handouts. And at the competition, we get to encompass our research in a 5-minute presentation. So we'd like to show you.
We are the Milestone Wizards, and we are on a trek to make paper waste magically disappear from our schools.
We started our research track by brainstorming the different types of trash we make. We looked at which ones we could research and where we could make the biggest impact.
We wanted a solution that we could impact the most, paper handouts.
Paper handouts are everywhere, but we want to make a real impact. So we looked at the biggest sources of problem we could find, our schools.
We searched the web and read books on trash. Then we talked to Jeremy King, the Director of Sustainability at Denison University. He told us that paper waste was a huge problem, and he said that recycling has its limitations. Reducing is much more effective.
Then we talked to the treasurer of our school district, Mike Sobel. He told us that our school makes 7.8 million copies per year, costing over $64,000. Which led to a simple solution, print less. Not only does it reduce waste, but it also saves lots of money. How do we get the schools to print less? It was time to research existing solutions.
In our research, we learned about one-to-one technology, where each student gets their own computer or tablet. However, this is too expensive for many schools.
Some teachers reduce copies by printing a single class copy set of tests instead of one test for each student. They put their answers on a separate sheet of paper. This helps reduce some, but it is all still paper-based.
Some teachers simply don't give paper homework. It's often online.
However, the online homework and class copy solutions require each teacher to change how they teach. That's asking a lot from the teachers, which makes it hard to implement. Then we found a great solution called Uniflow. This new software was created by Canon, the same company that leases our school copiers. This means that our schools implement Uniflow with no additional cost.
Uniflow allows you to send documents to the copier. When you get to the copier, you swipe your ID card. It will bring up all the files you sent to the copier. You simply choose the one you want to print, and it'll print for you.
This keeps people from sending a print and then forgetting, or printing and realizing they printed the wrong thing. After a while, these mistakes pile up next to the copier and never used. That's a lot of waste.
Canon did a white paper study and found that organizations who implement Uniflow reduce copies by 15 to 30%. For our school, a 30% reduction would save 2.5 million sheets of paper and $20,000 per year.
To share our solution with our school district and across the country, we made a Star Wars stop-motion video about Uniflow.
We posted our video on YouTube so other school districts and administrators can see this solution in a fun and creative way and implement it for their own schools and businesses.
We're working with our school administration to help implement Uniflow. Using our video and the things we've learned, we're showing them why this change is so important. When they understand that all this paper can be saved in just 1 month, they'll see the benefits of changing to Uniflow.
Then, with the power of our wizard staff, our solution will make all this waste disappear.
We can watch the video. Also, as a part of the competition, one of the really important parts is that when we present to the judges get to ask questions about our project. So I'd like to open it up to anybody here with any questions. Or we can watch the video.
How long did you work on this particular problem?
So we had a couple months to work on it. We actually had one of the earlier season tournaments. So the way it works is you advance. So if you go on from the first level, which we did, we got champions in the first level. So we're going on to the next level. And so we continue to work on the problem throughout the season. So we probably had like 2 months or something to start off with.
This is a Star Wars stop motion movie.
Hopefully. Not this.
The camera. It's on.
Are there any other questions while we're waiting for the blue screen to disappear? Oh, yeah.
Any questions?
So while we're waiting for that to load up for some reason, are there any like barriers to implementation, or what do you think about the actual possibility to implement this?
We talked to teachers at our school district. Most of them said 3 very important things. 1, wow, we use a lot of paper. 2, we should really find a way to reduce our costs. And 3, wow, this could be really hard to implement. We're going to have to get used to it.
So it's our job basically to have the teachers understand that the first 2, it's a lot of paper and we need to do something about it, are going to overrule it's going to take a little while to adjust. So to have the teachers on board is really important.
Is it like a page refresh or something?
We just did that. It might have buffering.
A little while ago. Other questions? Anyone have questions?
We're all waiting for Star Wars right now, right? Yeah. There we go.
That's swirling. So.
Talking about curveballs.
Yeah, there you go.
It's a theme tonight.
Right.
Yeah.
So we have something called a 5-year forecast. So I'm going to do a math problem. So if we can save $20,000 a year in a 5-year forecast, how much money is that?
$100,000.
That's that?
$100,000.
That's right. Okay. You know how much it costs to employ a teacher? Roughly $100,000, give or take, based on where they're at from an experience perspective. So what you've just talked about could potentially, result in maybe not spending money on a material item, but directing more revenue to a classroom or something that we as a community want to support.
Probably our internet.
And right now, we do have Uniflow on our Canon machines, so it's something that we can implement relatively quickly.
So when we were talking with Glenn Walker, he basically said, yeah, we just need to flip the switch, but we haven't flipped the switch yet.
Yes.
So
So let me give you a little background on why. because they're new copiers this year. So we had to get people used to the new copiers, but there is a plan to implement Uniflow after the break.
So are there any other kids in Granville that do this FLL, or what's?
Yeah, so there's like, I think there's almost 5 teams, and it was actually really cool, because on the day we competed, on the Saturday we competed, there were actually 3 competitions that Granville teams participated in, and all 3 teams got champions at their competition, which is pretty cool. Because, I mean, some of these teams are rookie teams, but it really shows that, I mean, there's got to be something going right with education in Granville, because there's got these smart kids winning champions all around Ohio, right?
Oh, so sad.
All right, so our communications person is right here. We're going to put this link on the front page so everybody can go and look at it at some point here.
That sounds a lot more effective.
Yeah. That's mine. That's for later.
It worked just before the meeting. Okay.
All right.
Well,
Thank you.
as they're moving off stage, so to speak, I also want to highlight the fact that we have been talking about project-based learning as a way to make the content in the classroom more of a real-world application. And this is a perfect example of project-based learning, where you look at a problem that exists already in the world. And we have plenty of problems to solve. And it's up to you guys that are leaving K-12 right now and going into college and beyond to solve many of those problems for us that will be old and gray and in need of help, or as in Mike's case, already are. So yeah, I think this is a perfect example of the power that kids have in solving our issues if adults listen to them. So I want to thank the group for presenting. I thought it was absolutely entertaining, but it was also informative. So thank you very much. Okay, so now, if you have to leave, you can leave. I'm not going to stop anybody because then it's my staff report, and you probably don't want to hear that. So, thank you all for coming.
I really, why is that cycling? They ran just before the meeting. Yeah. Who knows?
Thank you.
I thought that was Audra.
See you, George. Yeah, see you there. Nice job. I understand.
Hey!
I put it out.
Yeah, it did. I love that box trick. That was awesome.
Yeah.
They've got 2 or 3 more magic tricks that they're baking into their next version of it, right?
That's
Paper
fantastic.
disappearing paper thing, and they've got a couple other things that they make disappear.
I thought that was Audra.
Yes.
I haven't seen him in like 2 years, so.
Okay. Am I allowed to start my staff
Yes, of
report?
course.
Okay. I wanted to give you kind of a mid-year update, and in the next board meeting in January, you're going to hear from our principals about some of sniff, sniff. Andrew will be here listening to our principals talk a little bit about their continuous improvement plans. But I wanted to give you a little sense of where we're at with the innovation process and some of the work that was a byproduct of that. So as you know, this is the Learning Foundations. Everything that we do gets at the heart of student learning. It's really the linking of curriculum, assessment, and instruction to get at that student learning. You can see that little S underneath. That is related to Schoology, which has been a priority this year from an implementation perspective. You're going to hear the principals talk a lot about that. But we believe that all of this learning, the curriculum, the assessment, instruction has to take place in the context of 21st century skills like problem solving, communication, innovation, critical thinking, and collaboration. So all of that is important because of what you just saw the kids doing. You know, the ability to problem solve, critically think, innovate, and communicate effectively, but working in a team environment, which I think is absolutely essential moving forward, which is, you know, a highlight of what our innovation process really revealed. So we started this process really talking about what are some evolutionary or revolutionary innovations that we as an organization that we should consider to really add value to our students as they leave K-12. So the goal of the innovation process was to identify both evolutionary and revolutionary innovations that focus on will focus our strategic efforts towards continuous improvement. And we kept all kids in mind. So when we took this group of 70 staff, community, students through this process, this was our goal. Something that matches all students' needs in the future. And I think that's really critical because a lot of the innovations that were brainstormed, we had over 100, were kind of siloed brainstorm or siloed initiatives. So this one really kept coming to the surface as far as reaching all students. So last year, I recommended to the board that we adopt or integrate the concept of project-based learning into the long-range professional development plan for the school district. This plan will be a 3 to 5 year plan starting in 16-17. This year, we have been working with a cohort of 24 administrators and teachers learning about project-based learning, what it is, what it isn't, and I'll talk a little bit more about that later. But our goal is for our students to apply learning to life so that they walk out of our K-12 organization not only prepared from an academic perspective, but they also know how to take that academic knowledge and apply it to real world issues. So here's our update. The staff cohort, we've had 3 meetings examining project-based learning as an instructional methodology. It's been a very, I would say, motivated group. I always walk away from those meetings feeling like there's a level of engagement and curiosity that is really exciting. We've tackled the design process and the teacher practice frameworks. So when you look at high quality project-based learning, there's a design phase and then there's a teacher practice phase. So the design phase are the elements that a quality project-based learning environment should have in it. And project-based learning is kind of interesting because really, in order for it to be authentic, the students have to have authentic choices. And so there's a framework, a design that you set up, but really the students drive the work that's going to be done within that framework. So we really focused a lot about that design process. I want to talk to you more about that later in the year as we get that more refined from our cohort's perspective. And then the teacher practice. How do I engineer the classroom to support project-based learning? Because, you know, it's not typically the sage on the stage anymore. It's more the guide on the side. And so those are the teacher practice frameworks that really get at what does this look like in a 2nd grade classroom? What does this look like in a calculus classroom? And it's different. So this cohort of teachers are really working on the professional development goals for 16, 17, and beyond. So they're starting to create the professional development that the rest of the staff will participate in 16, 17. We know that anything that we do, in order to do it well, we have to build a shared understanding of that concept. If we have different perspectives about what project-based learning is, you're going to create variability that maybe isn't aligned with best practice. There's enough variability within project-based learning, but we want to be solid on the structures and the frameworks and the shared understanding of what we're trying to accomplish. So they're working on developing that professional development. We also, at the last board meeting, I shared with you that we wrote a straight A fund grant application that embedded project-based learning with a one-to-one initiative and included global studies at the high school as well. Because honestly, we want students doing exactly what this group of students did, which is looking at real-world issues. In order for it to be authentic, there should be a solution that can be implemented and they can see the benefit of their work. And we have multiple examples of that. This was just one of them, but think about the land lab. That really was a byproduct of Jim Redding's AP Environmental class. The students, Julie Archer and who is the other
Amelia
one?
Anderson.
Amelia Anderson, thank you, Thomas. Came and presented this concept to you as a Board of Education. You empowered them with 40 acres of land. They partnered with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, and now we have a land lab to look at and watch grow and use as a learning opportunity for generations of kids. That's the type of project that we're trying to create and learn through. So one of the things that we did at our last meeting was we watched a little snippet, a video trailer of this movie. It's won some awards, but it's called Most Likely to Succeed. So now we'll see if it works.
We divide the day up in high schools into bits of time, into 40 or 50-minute blocks typically, and then we ring bell, or some people start to shop around the building and do something else. That's an organizational device, it's not an educational principle.
Escape.
He said, in 11th grade, everyone should learn chemistry, and senior year, everyone should learn physics. A lot of these subjects are great, but these priorities were dictated 124 years ago.
The old blue-collar industrial model of education is already gone. We're already living in its wake.
What happens to society when hundreds of millions of people have that aimless, rudderless feeling of I've been replaced by a very small box? I don't know if there's a solution.
We all learn in different ways. This isn't the way to do it. This is the way that I did it.
If the assignment is you get it back and you crumple it up and throw it in the trash, that's kind of one student experience. And if the assignment is to produce something that you're going to present to professionals in the field, that's completely changing the whole dynamic.
We are trying to have that type of perplexity and curiosity get inculcated in our students. Saying your parents, all your friends' parents, and a bunch of people that you don't know are going to be here to see the work you did. It creates an aspect of authenticity because we are creating something for an audience. The things I think in life that give us some of the greatest satisfaction is making something that wasn't good before.
I can't wait for that moment when it does work. and I'm completely done with it. And it's like all leaves. It'll be the greatest place in my life.
Kids have that feeling when it's transformative for them. I made this, and everything's going to.
Okay, well, that was painful. But the visual imagery is, if you participated in the innovation process, the first person that was talking was Sir Ken Robinson. And he was part of that RSA video at the beginning of the presentation for the innovation group that really talked about how schools need to change the way that they do business, and some of the things that are going to be even more critical for students to be able to learn and do in the future. And so this movie, The Most Likely to Succeed, is coming out, and we have to pay, I think, $300 for a showing of this movie, and it's something that the cohort of teachers working on this project thought would be beneficial for all of our staff to view. And so we're trying to work on when would be the best opportunity to expose our staff to that type of kickoff moment. But I think it really highlights, not necessarily well when you can't see it or it's broken up, but it highlights really the catalyst for this change that we've been trying to cultivate in Granville schools. So I think the most exciting piece to this is that we really are learning together as a staff about what is high quality project-based learning. And any organization that is very strong learns together. And I think the fact that we're doing that together through this process is really powerful. And quite honestly, it's reinvigorating, because we're talking about something that really will have an impact on the high quality education our students receive. And it hits all kids. It goes back to that mindset, because some of our most academically gifted kids are the most challenged by this type of environment. So, and some of our kids that have really struggled in our current academic environment show their strengths in the ability to communicate and problem solve in a different manner. So I think this is really powerful. A couple of other things that were a part of that innovation process: movement in the classroom and the balanced calendar group. So we created pilots for movement in the classroom at GHS and GAIS. Some of that was funded through GEF that you approved a couple months ago or 2 months ago. That includes exercise ball chairs, standing desks. If you go upstairs in our office, a lot of us have standing desks now.
They're nice.
Yeah, they're really nice. But really trying to think of the classroom environment differently so that students have the ability to move and be active through the learning. The next steps, we're going to be discussing this in the World Class Whole Child Committees in the spring to talk about what do we want to do with what we've learned through this pilot. The Balanced Calendar Action Team met with the Calendar Committee in the fall. I don't necessarily know that they were satisfied, because it's kind of a frustrating conversation because a lot of other things impact our calendar, but we've tried to build a calendar that builds in a little bit more flexibility and breaks throughout the year as opposed to large chunks. But the largest chunk is really summer, and that's what we're trying and avoid with the balanced calendar. But until things change legislatively and from other things that we do, like athletics, extracurriculars, there are some barriers that we would have to overcome. But those conversations continue to happen. We really kind of got at the power of and through this process, because we've tried to find one initiative, but we really found several that I think were necessary and something that could really have an impact on the quality of our educational product. And one of the things was to build an opportunity for computer science at the high school, building that notion of coding and computer programming and build technology literacy K through 12. And so this year we've been working on a CTE pathway, which is a state-funded pathway through CTEC. CTEC at their last board meeting approved what they call an IT pathway, but that IT pathway in our world is innovative technologies. And I think it's, for us, the course development is going to be around programming or coding, website design, app development, and gaming. Those would be the 4 courses that would create the innovative technology pathway. And so right now, they have approved that they're going to support that. They will hire the teacher, but the teacher will be placed in Granville schools. And so it's a cost-effective way to build a program, but do it in a way that doesn't escalate cost for us. We also had our first hour of code event this past Saturday. 130 students participated. I took a couple of pictures, which was a lot of fun. And there were Thomas Miller, one of our board members, participated as an instructor for the, it looked like all-female classroom that really programmed Elsa, right? From
Frozen fractals, yeah.
Frozen
we were
fractals.
drawing pictures and doing all kinds of things.
Yeah.
It was fun.
And what I thought was just absolutely fun to see was kids working with their parents and them actually telling their parents how to do things because they pick up on this stuff really easily. But you can tell this little guy right here, these 2 guys, I mean, they are young. They were maybe kindergarten, maybe 1st grade, but they were doing things. That was the Angry Bird group. They were doing things with the Angry Bird and coding and making the Angry Bird do certain things, and they pick up on it so easily. And that's the type of technology that seniors and kids that have graduated say they have a deficit in when they leave us. So Evan and Glenn put together this hour of code in collaboration with the GRD, and it was a great event. I think next year we're looking to work with Justin Havel, who also participated, but he's a computer science teacher up at Denison, to really take what is the notion of hour of code, but really build that into that technology literacy K-12, so that all kids, not just 130, all kids have an experience with coding throughout the year. The other thing that I think relates to the innovative technology pathway is the straight A fund grant application, because if we move to more of a one-to-one environment, we have more ability to build that skill set related to, gaming, app development, website design, and computer programming and coding. Okay? So I think Thomas, did you have a question or a thought?
So could you elaborate a little bit more on how kind of you move beyond the CTE pathway, which is a great high school program in collaboration with CTEC, to like that integrating it into the curriculum? Because it seems like that's really key, is not to make it a separate event. Technology is not a separate thing, but these kinds of skills and this kind of thinking can be integrated. Like, what's the process, and is that a multifunctional group or staff, or how does that happen?
So right now, what we're looking at is we have to create a technology articulation. Okay, when you look at curriculum development, there's an articulation from kindergarten through 12th grade. If you look at math, you start with basic base 10 system and you build up all the way to calculus. We don't necessarily have that well-developed and integrated technology literacy program. So really what we're trying to do is create that articulation now so that we have the ability to say, okay, by 3rd grade, all students should know this as far as the skill set related to technology. And that's challenging because technology changes very rapidly. But there are some basic skill sets that should be a part of every student's repertoire. And then combine that with project-based learning, because really the technology is just the tool. But using the technology to solve real-world issues is where it becomes powerful, or communicate effectively. And so that's where this blends with project-based learning, so that when students communicate, when they are trying to solve real-world issues, they have the technology skill set to do that. So we're working on that, but really that is probably a second year initiative, because what we're trying to do right now is just establish the pathway in a low-cost manner. Okay,
Great.
Good question. I think the notion of what we're trying to achieve is really related back to one of our core fundamentals, which is creating that culture of continuous improvement, where, you know, it's not just great to have students that do very well on the ACT and get into the best colleges in the universe, in the nation. But it's about our kids leaving prepared to pursue their passion, whether that's college or career. But in order to meet their ever-changing needs, we have to be able to shift our organizational practices to align with those needs. And that requires continuous improvement. So we have done very well preparing our students, and we have all the right elements in Granville schools. High-quality staff, great students, active parents, strong leadership at the board level. And so we have to have that culture of continuous improvement to evolve our practices over time. And that's what we're trying to do to meet our students' needs. So that's kind of a little update. What I really want people to understand is the innovation process wasn't just a process for show. Okay? It was really to chart a course for us over the next 3 to 5 years, and we're taking steps to move in that direction. But again, you have to build slowly. And I know that's frustrating, but you have to go slow in order to move fast. And that's a concept that is, I think, counterintuitive but necessary in order to get better implementation long term through shared understanding. Other thoughts, questions? Sorry, you're a short timer.
I know. It doesn't matter.
Andrew, do you have any questions?
Fine, I'll just listen.
No.
Okay, so just revealing a little bit of my own personal daily life. What happened to the foreign language piece? Because I know that was put on the back burner, but it didn't appear up here. So what's the thinking on that?
Well, you know, it's still there. Just ask Mike. You know, every conversation we have, can we do this yet? But if we do something like save $100,000 through the implementation of Uniflow, or we shrink costs in other ways, or redesign positions, that's an opportunity for us to build that. We know that the community will support it. So that is something that is there. It's just not ready to materialize. But I think it's something that everybody agrees would add value to our educational experience for kids.
At a certain point, too, you have to figure out how much time you have left in the day also.
Yeah.
Because a lot of this stuff is, particularly the PBL, can be time intensive, especially if you all end up doing makerspace stuff with that, because that tends to go hand in hand with the technology and STEM, STEAM, whatever other
had that
ST.
conversation about makerspace, didn't we, Glenn, in our last leadership team meeting?
Yeah, so that technology articulation is also, that's another chunk of your rotation that ends up taking time. So it's a lot to try to
It is.
Finesse.
I think one of the things that the staff said in the innovation process is we want this to be invitational, and we also want this to go very slow so that we don't get overwhelmed, because they still have to live in the age of accountability. where, test scores matter. But we're going to do some work over the next year as a governance team, really looking at how should we reshape our mission, vision, and board benchmarks to align with some of the things that are taking place through project-based learning. And I think that's a challenge for us, but it's kind of exciting work.
Yeah, I'm so excited about getting into project-based learning. I'm a huge supporter in things, and a lot of the concepts in these educational innovation things like Ken Robinson and more resonate very strongly with me. But I think also in many ways, continuous improvement and change can feel a little threatening to those who have been successful with a different model. And I think we have a great example of a school district that's been very successful. Like, how do we make sure we acknowledge and appreciate what we've done that's so good in the context of, but we want to do something different?
Right. Well, and I think, so if you notice something's different in this room, we took down all the excellence banners, okay? If there's one thing that the staff has said to me is they want to be more creative. They don't necessarily want to teach to that test. And so we've taken down the excellence banners in an intentional way so that it signals that we are going to be adding value to students in a different manner. And that doesn't mean you throw away a tried and true practice. I mean, bottom line is, a reading workshop needs to take place at the elementary level so that kids learn to read, okay? And you are going to lecture in a PBL environment. It's not all or nothing, it's the power of and I think that's a critical shared understanding that we have to have, because we had some teachers say, you know what, I appreciate what you're saying, but have you seen my results?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm very effective right now. And that's true. And we don't want them to stop doing that. We want them to add something to their repertoire so that students have the ability to demonstrate that knowledge that they can demonstrate on assessments or whatever in a different context. So it's not limiting what or devaluing, but it's augmenting.
Yeah, and if there's things that we can do to support along those lines, I appreciate you leading us through the benchmark process, because I think that can be a real way that we can clarify, the importance of, where we're headed, but also, recognize the excellence of what we've done in the past. So I think it's a great project for next year. And I'm looking forward to getting through that. Yeah.
I think what's critical in this process is that we give teachers and students the ability to fail and take risks and not be successful. Because that's really what life is like. Going back to the curveball moments, you can have a really solid project, whatever it is, and it not come to fruition because a variety of different reasons. And so we want our teachers not to feel judged on their projects. We want them to take risks. We want our kids to take risks and not be limited by adult thinking. And so we need to model that from a board perspective and give teachers that latitude, as long as it's centered around what works best from a framework perspective.
Okay. And also in the context of this being, real world problems and connecting it to things that really matter, like, how do we best communicate out our intentions with this, right? So we can make sure that the whole community is understanding of this change in direction to some extent that the school district is taking, right? And also engage the community, right? Like, what kind of proactive communications can we do now? Do we need to be targeting, articles well ahead of us announcing things to kind of set the stage a little bit? Are there other kind of communications we can do to, again, bring more community into the process when it's time?
Right. And what we're trying to do right now is get our staff in the right place and help them get an understanding. And really, that's the role of the first year of the professional development. But I can tell you that we've had communications with Denison, who is also looking at, they just created a new major called Global Commerce. And we've talked with Jen's husband, Bibi, who supports Global Scholars. And their Frank Hasselbach is leading the Project-Based Learning initiative at Denison. I've had conversations with Adam Weinberg about this. So they're wanting to be involved. And so Denison is one community partner, but there's a lot of others. I think our students would add a lot of value to our political entities. Absolutely. In their problem solving and maturation process. Just saying. So, but yes, we will communicate quite a bit, but we don't want to get out in front of it until the teachers have the time to actually figure out, what it is they know and believe about project-based learning. Any other thoughts, questions, concerns? Okay.
Great.
Thank you.
At this point in the meeting, we'd like to entertain public comments. If you'd like to address the board, please approach the podium, and you can speak for up to 3 to 5 minutes. Amy?
Anyone?
Ron?
Andrew?
Andrew? On to the action agenda.
Okay. The first item, 9.01, we have several overnight field trips. Most of these, if not all of them, are funded by parents. So.
Second.
Any questions? Take the roll, please.
Ms. Deeds?
Aye.
Mr. Janice?
Aye.
Mr. Miller?
Aye.
Dr. Rentel?
Aye.
Dr. Corman?
Aye.
So I'm going to vote no every night, tonight, just for the heck of it.
9.02 is a maternity leave.
Excuse me.
Second?
Second. That's right.
Nope. Take the roll, please.
Ms. Deeds?
Aye.
Dr. Rentel?
Aye.
Mr. Miller?
Aye.
Mr. Janice?
Aye.
Dr. Corman?
Aye.
Thank you. 9.03, we have several leaves of absences to approve.
So. You have a second?
Second.
Any questions? Take the roll, please.
Mr. Janice?
Aye.
Mr. Miller?
Aye.
Dr. Rentel?
Aye.
Ms. Deeds?
Aye.
Dr. Corman?
Aye.
9.04 is our OSBA membership.
So moved.
Second.
This is our annual approval. The membership, I believe, is $3,500 for the year.
It's more than that.
Is it more than that now?
I can't remember how much it is, but I think it's more than 3,700.
Okay. But again, the school board, it's our state affiliation, and then we have the national affiliation as well. But it's our annual membership. Typically, we do this in December in preparation for our organizational meeting in January.
Yep, that's great.
Any questions? Take the roll, please.
Mr. Miller?
Aye.
Ms. Deeds?
Aye.
Mr. Janice?
Aye.
Dr. Rentel?
Aye.
Dr. Corman?
Aye.
Item 9.05, the Legal Assistance Fund membership.
So moved.
Second.
This is the Legal Assistance Fund when items are being litigated that impact all schools. OSBA has a legal assistance fund that they support and use to provide guidance and legal representation on behalf of all schools.
Is the cost of that dependent on the kind of activity that's incurred, or is it a normal
It's
annual?
a flat $250 a year.
Yeah. Yeah.
Any other questions? Nope. Take the roll, please.
Ms. Deeds?
Aye.
Dr. Rentel?
Aye.
Mr. Janice?
Aye.
Mr. Miller?
Aye.
Dr. Corman?
Aye.
Thank you. 9.06 is the authorization for testing expenses.
So moved.
Second.
If you have memory of this item in years past, it's been shrinking. We actually say it won't exceed 30,000, but we're anticipating that's going to be more in the range of 25,000. But this is the end of course exams through ACT.
Take the roll, please.
Mr. Janice.
Aye.
Ms. Deeds.
Aye.
Dr. Rentel.
Aye.
Mr. Miller.
Aye.
Dr. Corman.
Aye.
9.07, to establish the Ruling Our Experiences Club or ROCs at the middle school.
So moved.
And a second?
Second. Go ahead, Amy.
Russ and Amy.
The Ruling Our Experiences is a female club that really talks about empowering women. And Misty Postal is going to be the club organizer at the middle school level. We already have a club in existence at the high school level.
Great.
Any other questions? Take the roll, please, Mike.
Mr. Janice.
Aye.
Ms. Deeds.
Aye.
Mr. Miller.
Aye.
Dr. Rentel.
Aye.
Dr. Corman.
Aye.
The next item, 9.08, is the tennis court site improvements design contract through MSA.
Second.
Amy, then Katie.
So MSA Sport is the architectural firm that we've been using to look at the entire middle school, high school complex. As you know, our tennis courts are in really bad shape.
You're being kind.
Yes, I'm being very kind, and that is due primarily to the fact that most of the water that comes off the hill congregates underneath that area and then stays there, which creates a lot of movement of the ground and earth above it. And so the site design work is really to design the infrastructure to really move that water beyond that location to really back behind, in between the rugby field and the soccer field, that area right there. The site design work is about $26,000 total. Is that pretty close, Tanya? 26?
It's close.
Yeah. So it is the first step in really getting the bid package together for the replacement of the tennis courts.
Yeah, this is going to be a big expense, so I'm encouraged we're going to take all the possibilities to look for efficiencies within it, because with these big capital projects, there's often decisions and trade-offs that you can make, right?
Mm-hmm.
And because those decisions end up being huge numbers at the end of the day, I hope that MSA can bring to the district alternatives that we can consider how far to go with different elements of it.
Oh, fine. Sorry.
That's okay.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, I think what we're trying to do is set us up for the long-range future improvements that need to take place there. But we have to maintain our physical assets, and our tennis courts are something that the community uses on a regular basis, we use on a regular basis. But we don't want it to be at the expense of some of the things that we want to do from a technology perspective and other things that are priorities. So, I think what you'll find when Mike talks and when we talk about the 5-year forecast and the PI levy revenue is really how do we look at that pot of money differently to support some of our newer thinking, like textbooks. Do we need to spend money on a stagnant resource? And if so, at the same level, or should we, be spending that money differently in the future? But I think it's a good point to make.
But I also, while it's underneath the tennis courts, it's really a maintenance thing that has to happen
Absolutely.
to protect all of that area.
Yeah.
Because it's partly happening because things are breaking down underneath there, which could lead to other things breaking down. So
Yes.
it just happens to be under the tennis courts.
It is much of an infrastructure project as it is a replacement of the tennis courts.
That's good.
Any other questions?
Are you okay?
Pretty emotional.
It got really dry.
Do you need a cough drop?
No, I'm good. I have. Take the roll, please.
Ms. Deeds.
Aye.
Dr. Rentel.
Aye.
Mr. Miller.
Aye.
Mr. Janice.
Aye.
Dr. Corman.
Aye.
9.09 is the approval of the educational aid job description.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. We had a vacancy in Mrs. Gall's position, which is the health clinic nurse position. We met with the administration, talked with the GEA leadership about what we were going to do to replace that position. We're not going to replace Shelby's position. Well, actually, we are. We're doing a full-time nurse for the entire complex. Right now, we have 1.5, but we believe that what we probably need to have is 1 full-time nurse and 1 full-time aide with clinic responsibilities. So we built those clinic responsibilities into the educational aide job description, and we need that board approved in order to post that position. That person will float on the middle school, high school campus, but primarily be stationed at the middle school.
Other questions?
But will work hand in glove with the nurse. Rubber glove.
And from a cost standpoint, it's neutral because the cost of a full-time aide is roughly the equivalent to the cost of a half-time clinical nurse. So from a cost standpoint, it's neutral. It's fairly neutral.
But from a coverage perspective, it's better.
Better from a coverage perspective.
Yeah.
Yes. Both for the clinic and for the middle school office.
Yep.
Other questions? Take the roll, please.
Mr. Janice.
Aye.
Ms. Deeds.
Aye.
Mr. Miller.
Aye.
Dr. Rentel.
Aye.
Dr. Cornman.
Aye.
All right, 9.10 is the approval of the resolution for the purchase of a maintenance dump truck.
Motion to approve.
Woo-hoo.
So moved.
Second.
So we have the authorization to purchase a dump truck for about $52,000. That dump truck will also have a plow in the front, so when we get weather, we have the ability to plow effectively. Our current vehicle is not safe to drive and has well exceeded its life expectancy.
It is 29 years old.
It's 29 years old. Yeah.
It's a 1986.
Wow.
1986.
Pretty amazing.
Good job. It is. It's absolutely amazing that nobody's fallen through the cab.
No Bondo.
So,
Yeah.
again,
My
we
daughter
don't
in
like
college.
we don't like to spend a lot of money on equipment and maintenance things like this, but you
Once
have
every
to.
29 years is all right.
But once every 20. Exactly.
And we don't want people sliding across the
No.
parking lot when they get to school.
Correct.
Any other questions? Take the roll, please.
Mr. Janice.
Aye.
Mr. Miller.
Aye.
Dr. Rentel.
Aye.
Ms. Deeds.
Aye.
Dr. Cornman.
Aye.
Thank you. The next item is the consent agenda, 10.01A through C. 4.
Motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, a couple of things I'd like to highlight. You'll see all of the donations. Several of them are for the Rocks Group at the middle school, which now that we've established the club, Mike can create a line item to support those donations. I think every month we look at the donations and we realize how supportive this community really is. The businesses, the Rotary Kiwanis, GRD, it's nice to see. I would like to modify the resignation language because it says the superintendent recommends with appreciation of service. However, that individual never started. We hired him at the last board meeting and he never took the position. So it's not really appreciation of service, but thank you.
For nothing.
So I think you get the point. That's my comments.
How's our substitute pool these days?
It's getting better. Tanya, what is our pool at? We're above 70 for,
Yeah, we're above that. I don't know exactly what the number is.
but we've been trying to build that pool of of subs for a while. You know,
I think I've interviewed 6 since the last one.
yeah.
Great.
So we're getting there.
Good. Any other questions? No? Take the roll, please.
Ms. Deeb?
Aye.
Dr. Rantel?
Aye.
Mr. Janice?
Aye.
Mr. Miller?
Aye.
Dr. Corman?
Aye.
Thank you. And that's it.
Financials, first is the November financial report.
So moved.
We're going to take a little bit longer than normal on the financial report because I do want to give an update on the 5-year forecast a little bit as well. Overall, everything is pretty much on target at this point from where we would expect to be. If you look at page 5, revenues are about 0.2% ahead of where we're expected, or ahead of last year at this point. Expenditures are up 5.2% over last year, but that wasn't expected. The big jumps there being in benefits and purchase services, which is stuff we've talked about before and will continue to talk about even as we get into the 5-year forecast discussion. Revenues compared to estimates year to date are about 0.4% behind. Again, that's really almost, well, it is completely due to the one delinquency from our large commercial payment, our taxpayer, which is, again, is now been paid, but we won't get that money until February or March. So that should catch up once that payment comes. Expenditures are running about 2.2% ahead of estimate right now. That will smooth out both in purchase services and in benefits as we go through the year, and it should come down a little bit in salaries as well. I have not done, we are able to shift some of our substitute costs onto Title IIA funds. I have not done that yet. We'll be doing that over the next week or so, and that'll bring down some of those substitute costs. We do that twice a year. We're allowed to do that for substitutes who are in for teachers who are doing professional development, because that's what the Title IIA money is for, is professional development. If we go back, well, let's look at the cash flow. There's nothing, again, nothing different than what we have seen the last really 6-8 months, where we're expecting to be on target over the next, through the end of next fiscal year as far as our cash policy. Our overall cash is back to normal now. We are at about $9.7 million of cash as we have completed the refunding of the bond and had to dismiss the $27.7 million that we've been carrying the last couple of months. We did pick up about $16,000 or $17,000 of interest on that money while we had it, which is actually partly helping towards the tennis court project, is that's one of the smaller pieces of funding that's contributing to fixing the tennis courts.
How was that money invested in the interim? It was only a couple months, right?
It was invested in money market account through Park National. It was the only thing that really made sense. I mean, it didn't make, we couldn't even buy a 3-month bond because we didn't have the money for a full 3 months.
It's impressive interest level, for a bank account, for a money market or whatever, but I guess there's a lot of money there too.
It was $27 million. If you think about it, it's $27 million. It's not a lot of money. Let's go, now I'll go back to page 4 as kind of the segue into the 5-year forecast discussion. If we take a look at where we are right now relative to the October forecast, you'll see both our revenue trends and our expenditure trends are above where they were. The revenue trends, because of now that we have the actual valuations, that the biggest piece of that was in public utility property. We had a 32% increase in the public utility property. Because that's tangible property, there are no reduction factors on that, so we get full growth on that amount of money. It was about $3 million of value, which is a lot, considering we had about a $9 million base. And that's yielding about $200,000 per year above what we are anticipating in the forecast. Our spending is also up a little bit over where we were in October. Again, this is primarily in student services and needs. In the way this actually works is in the short run, our situation has gotten a little bit worse over the first 3 years of the 5-year forecast, but it has improved considerably over the last 2 years. And so you'll see as we get into the latter part, the 5-year forecast actually has gotten better from where it was in October. We just won't see it until 2019 and 2020. If we jump back now to page 11, these are the 2015 valuations. What you'll see is residential valuations a couple $1 million higher than was anticipated. Commercial, almost the same amount lower. The reason the commercial is down as much as it is was I had forecast getting some construction in progress from the Granville Inn and the Middleton facility. It's kind of tenuous. It basically is how far they were as of January 1 this past year. We ended up not getting any increase in value off of either of those. We will get the full amount of that growth in the 15 values, well, the 16 values that will be payable in 17. So we won't see that. We'll see that growth a year later than I had thought we'd see some of it.
But those are annually adjusted, not until the next valuation change, right? Yeah.
Property value has a January 1 lien date. So basically, it's the 2015 values are based on whatever is in place as of 1/1/15.
Okay.
And so it's a year in arrears that, it hits anything that's finished during 2015 hits the 2016 valuations payable in 2017. Remember, property taxes are then paid a year in arrears.
Right.
So that's coming out a little bit later, but then you do see the $2.8 million of public utility, which is, as you see, the total valuation was up about $2.8 million. And so really that was accounting for all of the increase that we're seeing. And the good part about that is, as I said, we do get 100% revenue from that. There's no rollback of our tax rates on the public utility.
Can you talk a little bit about the agricultural value? I thought ag values were up.
That was last year. That was in 14 at our reappraisal year.
Oh, okay.
They were up. This year it's just noise.
Okay.
In the agricultural value.
Okay.
Again, it's $100,000 of value on 26 million.
Right.
No, we saw the big jump last year.
Okay.
In 14 on ag values. So if we look at the last page, this is comparing just the 5-year forecast summary from October and current. Overall, the 5-year forecast at the end from October, we were looking at about a $338,000 negative cash balance in 2020. That is now about a $360,000 positive cash balance. So it's a shift of about $700,000. It doesn't make a big difference in our long-term strategy because, again, $360,000 at year end is not enough money to cover even a single payroll. So that is not a large margin of error. What it does do is it gives us a little bit more flexibility in our planning because, again, a lot of the stuff is going to happen between now and 2020. It's still quite a ways away. We've got at least one set of negotiations in between there as far as salaries and benefits. Who knows, there could be another recession. We don't know what could happen between now and then. But we have a little bit, I think we have a little bit more flexibility in our timing of things and, and what we can and can't do as far as a long-term levy strategy. We still have the issues in 2019 that we have to deal with around the PI and our, basically our capital budget and how we address those and how we address our operating budget and whether we still want to look at a strategy to deal with everything at once rather than dealing with it piecemeal. But this, I think what this does is it gives us a little bit more in the way of options as far as how if we are going to deal with it all at once, how we deal with it. But those are really discussions for a later, not a lot later time, but a little bit later time, not tonight. So that's kind of where we are in a nutshell. Questions?
It's a good update. It's nice to have one go somewhat in our favor as well.
Exactly. That's true.
Just gonna say that.
Take a roll, please.
Mr. Janice.
Aye.
Ms. D.
Aye.
Mr. Miller.
Aye.
Dr. Rantel.
Aye.
Dr. Cornman.
Aye.
Thank you. Second issue is the resolution authorizing a transfer of excess funds from the bond retirement account.
So moved? Second.
A copy of this resolution is in the packet at the very back of the packet. This is essentially how we're funding most of the tennis courts. A change in state law from a couple of years ago allows a school district, if it determines it has an excess balance in its bond account, to go to the county budget commission and ask the budget commission to essentially declare, yes, that's excess money, and allows us to transfer it only to a PI account. We can't transfer it to operating. We still have to use it for capital expenditures, primarily because of the savings in the bond refunding. We are in a better spot than we would otherwise have been, looking over the next 3 to 4 years as far as the debt service payments that we're going to be required to make. What we have determined between a combination of that, the $17,000, $18,000 of interest that we got on from the bond refunding, that we have a surplus of about $350,000 that we can move to the PI budget while still maintaining adequate balances in the bond fund over the next few years until our payments actually will decline in 2018 and 19 as the full impact of the refunding starts hitting. That will then allow us to lower the tax rate besides doing anything. So this is basically this is giving me the authority to go to the county budget commission, ask them to declare the surplus so that we can move the money.
Is there a specific magnitude that's attached with that we vote on, or is it open-ended, or what's this is a one-time thing?
Well, if you actually look at the
oh, it's in the resolution. Okay, great.
The last page of the document.
Yeah.
It says it's 300.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically it says it's a $350,000
great
surplus that we feel that we have right now.
Yep. Very good.
That we can move.
Yep.
So that's the amount that I will be asking for. And this will cover probably 75 to 80% of the cost of the tennis court project. The remainder of the money we will be asking next month at the Newark Granville Community Authority meeting to take some of the money we had put aside now for 2 years for the bus garage that we have finally abandoned the project on, and ask them to dedicate up to $100,000 of the money that would have otherwise gone to the bus garage to go towards the remaining cost of the infrastructure and tennis court reconstruction.
I was actually going to ask that earlier when we were voting on the design piece. So if you were thinking about them.
Yeah, those are the two sources. The two sources of funding will be this transfer, and then assuming, asking the Newark Granville Community Authority to approve the use of the remainder of the money.
Any other questions? Take the roll, please.
Mr. Miller?
Aye.
Mr. Janice?
Aye.
Ms. Deeds?
Aye.
Dr. Intel?
Aye.
And Dr. Corman?
Aye.
Last one is a resolution to do a fund transfer relating to the middle school science Olympiad account.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. This is actually the final of my movements of trying to clean up monies that are in the funds that have been sitting around. Last year, if you recall, the GEF gave the Science Olympiad a grant to participate in the Science Olympiad, and we also created that as a student activity. There were $79.50 left over from the grant. GEF has given us permission to transfer that to the Science Olympiad account for them to continue using to participate in the Science Olympiad. Because it's moving from the grant fund to the student activity fund, it needs to be approved by the board to actually move the money between funds.
Any questions?
Wouldn't they normally just fund the activity fund? Or is it a common practice that whenever there's a grant, there's a separate fund created for that grant specifically?
Fund 007 is a grant fund.
Okay, so that's the way we
basically-
track that those monies are spent on what they were supposed to be spent on?
Yep.
Correct.
Yeah, so basically, whenever we get a grant, it gets deposited into Fund 007, and we set up the expenditures out of there.
Okay.
Normally, if there's money left over, we would need to return it back to the grantor.
Yeah.
In this case, because of the amount of money involved, I asked them if it was okay if we used it to continue the program this year, and they said yes.
Great.
Take the roll, please.
Ms. Deeds?
Aye.
Ms. Dr. Intel?
Aye.
Mr. Miller?
Aye.
Mr. Janice?
Aye.
Dr. Corman?
Aye.
Thank you.
Katie?
Motion to adjourn.
I don't think anybody's going to say, I'm over no.
We have to have three of us vote yes. Can't wait.
Watch your vote now.
Aye.
All right.
Ms. Deeds?
Aye.
Mr. Janice?
Aye.
Mr. Miller?
Aye.
Dr. Corman?
Aye.
All right.